Welcome back to the pregame show. The RoughRiders taking on the Midland Rockhounds here at Dr. Pepper Ballpark today, and I'm joined by one of the RoughRiders coaches and a Texas Rangers scout, James Vilade, former NCAA coach and the second most all-time winning coach in Texas NCAA history. Then, James, first of all, thanks for taking time with us here today. First of all, what exactly do you do with the RoughRiders? I think most people have a really good sense of what the manager does, what the hitting coach does, the pitching coach, and I think every team seems to do it a little bit differently after that. But what are some of your responsibilities on a day-to-day basis before the game and getting the guys ready, and also once the game starts?
Well, I think primarily, my biggest job is to support Jason Hart and his work with the hitters. That's one of my main focuses here with the club. And then as far as other responsibilities, coaching first base, a little bit of the identification of the running game with the guys during the game, who we're facing, making sure they get their times on pitches to home plate, and making sure that guys have a good feel for what's happening in front of them.
Yeah, we've seen obviously the road teams, have usually a position player out there, just somebody thrown out there at first base. But what kind of advantage does it have for someone experienced like yourself to be over there at first base as opposed to a player that might not have near the experience that you have?
I mean, I think it's basically seeing the game and anticipating the game, but also trying to execute the plan that Boo's got for the guys. There's a lot that goes on as far as signs, as far as getting a feel for where we are in the game, decisions we have to make. So I think overall it's a little more stability for the guys. When we're trying to accomplish our big goal of scoring runs and getting guys into scoring position.
In addition to your work here with the RoughRiders, also a scout with the Texas Rangers, an amateur scout here in the area, what areas do you cover as far as geography goes, and how does your role as a scout fit into the larger scouting picture of the Rangers system on a whole?
Well, I think, for me, it's basically here in North Texas. I work with Jay Eddings, who covers the North Texas area. Jay and I go through the area. We try to identify the best amateur players that are out there. Try to build lists on guys that we may have interest in as an organization. And, of course, we're looking for guys that can help us with the ultimate goal of winning a World Series, but also guys that can represent the organization well and have a big upside in the game of baseball.
Are you spotting guys early on? Are you doing more of the later work in identifying, a little more detail-oriented? How does that kind of break down as a player goes through from, let's say maybe his freshman year of high school all the way to becoming a senior? Who's seeing him, and what are the steps along the way that the Rangers kind of tag to identify who they want and who they want to target? I
think usually by a kid's sophomore year in high school, we're trying to get a pretty good feel for how a guy might project out, and building those lists with younger players is always to our advantage because scouting is so difficult. It's time-consuming. It takes a large staff to get it done. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to identify, maybe beat some other clubs to the punch, especially in our backyard. We want to be great in our backyard. And through that, we go through the process of seeing guys, working guys out, and trying to make sure that when draft day shows up, we have the best list possible and that we have the best draft possible.
And I think a lot of people don't really understand how many people it does take to make the scouting happen. Your average high school player the Rangers are targeting, let's say, maybe in the middle rounds, how many different people within the Rangers organization would you say on average that player has been seen by?
Sometimes it's as many as the whole department. When you get into the pre-draft stuff, it gets pretty heavy with the guys that are coming in because it's a collective decision. I mean, it's an organizational decision. But, early on, 2 or 3 guys on top prospects here in the area, and then it builds from there. But again, the team does a great job of identifying the guys and figuring out who are going to be the top guys on our list.
Here with James Vilade, a coach here with the RoughRiders and also a scout for the Rangers. This is the second year that you've been involved in the pre-draft workouts here in the Dallas area. Explain a little bit about that event and your involvement specifically in it.
Well, my involvement in the pre-draft workouts is basically the field support side of it. Also, partly evaluation, making sure that the workouts run smooth. The physical part of the workout, the throwing the BP, the hitting the fungo, the helping, with the running of the 60s, things of that nature. So from an execution side of having a good workout, my responsibilities fall under Bobby Crook, who's our scouting manager, making sure we have a good workout. And then as far as leading up to the draft, we could bring in as many as one guy, maybe 12 guys to try to get one final look before the deadline of, hey, it's time to select players. So it comes in waves a little bit. Sometimes we're doing stuff in Arlington, sometimes we're doing stuff in Frisco. But we're trying to get as many looks as we can at our top guys late in the game, trying to get any edge that we can.
How many of those workouts are there? I mean, are we talking about a few dozen players, a couple hundred players? What's the total body of work look like as far as those pre-draft workouts when it's all said and done?
It can vary from year to year. You can have as many as 10, maybe 12, and you can have as few as 6, depending on where you feel the needs are in getting the extra look. And sometimes there's guys that weather gets bad or there's a circumstance beyond your control, a kid didn't pitch, that you're trying to get that really good look at before you make a decision on whether or not you're going to select them. So that can vary from year to year.
Here with James Vilade, and you bring up the varying circumstances of the players. And how much stock do you guys take into what they actually do at the workouts as opposed to what scouts may have seen from them before? I mean, everybody has a bad day, and I think baseball can be one of the hardest sports to be consistent in. How important is that draft day, pre-draft day workout for those guys as far as your ultimate assessment of the player?
Well, most of the guys coming into a pre-draft workout have been seen in a game situation, so that's an advantage on our part. But again, grading out tools, run, throw a field, hit for power, those are things that we're trying to assess in workouts, and it's an intense situation for the players, but it's not a game, so we're really trying to grade out the tools. But also you get a chance to see what the person's like, what the player's like, how he carries himself, how he goes about his business, possibly what his work ethic is like, and really how he carries himself, because ultimately that's part of being a professional.
And how many people from the department are there at these kinds of events? Is John Daniels there, A.J. Preller, Thad Levine? How many people are there, watching these guys, and who are some of the key figures there? Well,
everyone you mentioned has been to pre-draft workouts. Sometimes it's different workouts, but they're very involved. They've got a great eye for talent, and they've been very involved in a lot of these workouts.
And the Rangers, 23rd overall, their first selection this year, Alex Gonzalez, known as Chi-Chi by most of the media by now. Did you get a chance to see him in the pre-draft workout? And if so, what did you see from the right hitter out of Oral Roberts?
No, I didn't get to see him, but in 2002, I was the hitting coach at Oral Roberts University, so I know his pitching coach really well, Rob Walton, who's now the pitching coach at Oklahoma State. And Rob did a great job developing him as a player. Actually, Chi-Chi's high school baseball coach is one of my best friends. So it's a small world in baseball, but from the reports we've seen in the video I've seen, he's a pitcher. He seems to be the complete package and a great pick.
You bring up sort of special connections that you have with him. Baseball is such a crapshoot compared to most other sports in terms of the draft. Way more rounds than most other of the Big Four sports. How much do teams, if it's team to team or just the Rangers, rely on a special connection where there might be less risk because you do know somebody well, where you can, kind of trust their word, as opposed to a college coach that says, this guy is the next great thing, but no one really knows what his word is worth, and maybe only scouts have seen him a few times?
I think those connections, they're valuable. I mean, they are. Anytime you can get information on a player from a great source, it pays dividends down the line. It's tough making these decisions, but you have to have reasons for doing it, and to have those big-time connections are very, very helpful in the process.
Was there anyone else from the pre-draft workouts that the Rangers did end up selecting that you remember seeing something, whether it was a single tool or just their all-around effort, that really stood out to you as part of the talent evaluation process?
For us, all the players that we're bringing in for pre-draft really stand out. I mean, it's always a great group of players. It's always a very capable group of players. You don't always get everyone that you want. I think that in a perfect world, if you could just go grab players and sign them like you could a long time ago, you'd have that 100% shooting rate. But for here, the draft moves pretty quick. There's a lot of tough decisions that have to be made, but all the guys we're bringing in are very high-quality players.
Before I let you go, I want to go kind of back to the beginning. You a long coaching career, and you move over to the scout role. You were coach here with the RoughRiders, and then part of the Marlins organization as a scout. How did you make the switch to scouting? Why scouting, and how did that happen? I know that the stories kind of run the gamut of how people get into the baseball operations side.
Well, in 2010, that was my last year of coaching college baseball at the University of Texas at Tyler. It was a great year. Made it to the NCAA tournament. Lots of positives. My wife and I decided to move back to the area, and the Marlins had offered me a job scouting North Texas. Steve Taylor, who's with the organization, gave me a shot to come back and scout and spend a little bit of time for the Marlins organization, working for them, and then was afforded the opportunity to come back 2 years ago by Mike McCucci and Scott Service before they went to the Angels. They got me back involved with the Rangers, and I'm thankful for it, because the Marlins was a great opportunity, but the Rangers is home. The Rangers it's my family.
Well, you're halfway through this thing here this year. The RoughRiders finishing up the first half here this homestand. So good luck here the rest of the way, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Anytime.
That was James Vilade. We'll be back with more here on the Frisco RoughRiders Baseball Network.